Do not turn away from what is happening. It is so atrocious, and it is so important to push back on right now, all day, every day. All of us need to be doing it because it will continue to get worse if we don't continue fighting back right now. I've seen a few people commenting that it's not patriotic to disagree with your government, or it's not patriotic to speak out against them. The most patriotic thing you can do is voice your opinion in a democracy. If we don't push back on that, all of us sitting here will end up in places like those concentration camps in El Salvador.
Because we're speaking up. My name is Ansley, this is Tess, and this is our CEO, Meredith Erin. Everybody! The due process, or should I say lack thereof, that we the American people have been seeing as of recently. If you have been here, I'm sure you've seen some of the videos of like students getting kidnapped off of streets, like people being deported with no one checking in on them. And this is insane. It's like another episode of what's going on up there. So we're going to talk about it because this is incredibly concerning, not just for conservatives, not for liberals, for every single American citizen there is.
There's so many things to be angry about right now with what's going on in our government. But this is the thing I'm the most upset about of everything, and I'm upset about all of it. But this is number one. And the reason this is number one is because if this is allowed to take root and be normalized and go unchecked, like, it's not really fixable. People will be killed. People will be falsely imprisoned. Like, it's very bad. We see it happening right now with alleged immigrants and green card holders. And I'll say alleged because these people aren't getting due process. So we can't prove anything. The way this was sold to Donald's voters was that, oh, we're going to deport all of these illegal criminals that are in our country. And to the average person, that sounds good. You're like, well, yeah, I don't want criminals running loose in the country, so I'm on board with that. But in practice, that's not actually what's happening. People are being swept up with no due process. Due process just means that, like, if you're accused of committing a crime, you get to have your day in court. You get to go before a judge, a jury, and you get to argue your case. If we get rid of that, then all of us are criminals. All of us can be deported. I was born here. My parents were born here. I think that's true of everyone sitting here. And it doesn't matter because due process is what allows me to say, here's my passport. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
I was born here. Here's my birth certificate. I was born in this country. With no due process, we don't get that. So to say, like, oh, well, it's fine to do this to immigrants because they're criminals. Well, you can't prove that they're immigrants or criminals if you don't have due process. So it's a huge deal.
Even international students who are here on visas, like, I'm sure, well, we can talk about it now, but one of the students, I think she went to Yale.
There was a Tufts student who she was kidnapped off the street by, and I'm using the word kidnapped because
I would
there's
say so.
No warrant. They were in plain clothes. They were hiding their faces. Law enforcement needs to identify themselves. They should not be hiding their identity, which they were.
They held her 2,000 miles away in like an immigration facility, I believe in Louisiana. And when Marco Rubio was asked about this, he was like, yeah, of course we did this. Like, she is an international student and she was spreading pro-Hamas. Like,
she wasn't.
She wrote an op-ed piece. She co-wrote an op-ed piece a year prior to this arrest. But she wears a hijab, so that makes her public enemy number one.
She co-authored an editorial in her student newspaper, basically just talking about her opposition to genocide against Palestinian citizens, which is a point of view that most people would agree with, like murdering innocent citizens who are not necessarily part of Hamas.
I feel like there's nothing political about that
that's not
either.
A super weird take to have. And to say that this woman should be arrested and thrown out of the country for having this opinion when it's a fairly
common,
is crazy. And increasingly, we are hearing from this regime that saying things they don't like is illegal.
Credible news is no longer.
That's not true. The First Amendment says that we are free to say whatever we want, even if they don't like it. And for them to start dismantling it the way they are trying to is a crisis. And
just scary.
And bundling that with doing away with due process, like, not only do you have the right to speak against the government, you also have a right to go before a court. So if I am saying things the government doesn't like and they want to arrest me over it, first of all, that's not legal. But secondly, like, I should be allowed to go in front of a judge and say, yeah, I said something they don't like, and that's my right to do. And
even TikTok has comment appeals. If your comment gets taken down because someone reported it, you can appeal and someone reviews it. A Chinese app has more governing power than our country right now.
Yes, but in these situations, you want a judge to say, yeah, they're allowed to say things you don't like. That's the law here, and you can't keep them in prison. So it's a real crisis, not just for immigrants, but for citizens. I really need people to understand that if it's dangerous for non-citizens, it is dangerous for citizens.
Yeah. It's scary. And I was even seeing, like, I think a husband in Maryland, his wife identified him in an El Salvadorian concentration camp. And essentially, there was no due process given. So he was just surprise exported to El Salvador.
And he had protected status here. So he was here legally.
Yeah.
He's a child with disabilities who is young and who is an American citizen. The wife is an American citizen. And the regime is refusing to bring him back. They're just like, he's gone now. This man did nothing wrong. It's out of our control. It's disgusting. And it's our tax dollars that are paying for this. I need people to understand this. Like, we are paying millions of dollars per person to send them to prisons forever. A gulag, a work camp.
Where there's no food or water. So really, what are the tax dollars going towards? Like, we're locking up innocent people with no understanding of why they're even there, and then we're not taking care of them. So who's digging those mass graves? The prisoners.
It's disgusting. It's so gross, and it's not liberal, and it's not conservative. This is just
a human issue.
It's a human rights issue.
And I think that like emphasizing that we are literally paying for this with our tax dollars, because I feel like a big issue that everyone talks about is like, oh, I don't want my tax dollars going towards this thing. Nobody should want their tax dollars going towards this. Not a single person. This isn't like your thoughts on public education versus like charter schools. Like this is like
fact.
Like
this isn't Planned Parenthood covering abortions when I'm pro-life. Like this is
like you said, getting rid of due process. And first of all, they are getting rid of it for citizens, because some of these people are very much here legally and citizens. But it paves the road for them to get rid of it.
Yeah, we are free falling towards open fascism in this. It's really scary. Like there is, because if we're saying that the law can no longer protect us, then what is the law? It is the oligarchs, it's the billionaires, it's Donald Trump, it's the maggots who follow him. Like we could be taken tomorrow.
There's a woman in Congress, Victoria Spartz, who had a town hall, and she told her voters, if you violated the law, you are not entitled to due process. And people booed her. That's not how that works at all. That is factually incorrect. That is not what the law says. If you violated the law, you are absolutely entitled to due process. That's where you get to prove whether or not you violated the law. That's just a fact.
Like literally in the Miranda rights. Like, this is what is said. You have the right to a lawyer. If you can't provide yourself one, the state's going to provide you one. Like, this is just a part of it. Like, it's crazy for it to be like, oh, you committed a crime, you don't get due process?
Oh, so we're making our own rules now?
Yeah.
Like, fun. What's the Constitution for?
Yeah. If you're going to push back against anything that is going on right now with this regime, like, this is the thing. Like, First Amendment rights and due process is the thing that, like, that can't be negotiable. We can't let them interfere with those rights. They are so critical to everyone's personal safety. Mm-hmm. Like, if we don't push back on that, all of us sitting here will end up in places like those concentration camps in El Salvador.
Because we're speaking up.
Yeah, we say things they don't like. Mm-hmm. And it's dangerous for everyone. And so it's important, regardless of your political affiliation, this is not a liberal thing. This is in the Constitution. If you're a conservative, you actually should be as fired up as I am. I know some conservatives who are.
If people have common sense and they're paying attention, then they care. But if you're blindly following an orange man who couldn't give a loving if you lived or died, then you're the problem.
You need to care about this. It's such a big deal. The way these immigrants are being treated, many of whom are here legally, have not committed crimes.
Yeah, what's this about the, there was one, Waltz with the TZ who is like, oh, well, they don't deserve like food or water or something like that, or
yeah, there's a prison in Miami, Chrome Detention. It is capacity for 500. There are about 5,000 people in there right now. They're not giving them food or water. There have been multiple deaths in this detention center. People are in there again with no due process. I know he's destroying the economy. I know he's destroying the environment. He's doing so many bad things. But this is a crisis for every person in this country, including all the citizens. So you have to talk about it.
So is Trump introducing anything that would amend the right to due process, or is it just that they are blatantly ignoring the fact that they are legally required to do it?
They're ignoring it.
Okay.
That's the problem. They're not trying to change, the Constitution per se at the moment, which does dictate that the due process is a right. So they're not actually trying to change the law. They're ignoring the law. This is a lawless administration. They don't respect our laws. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Call your lawmakers. There is a great app called fivecalls.org. It's free. It's very easy to use if you've never called your lawmakers before. It makes it very beginner friendly. I know that you might be thinking, well, mine's a Democrat. They already agree with me. Call them. Mine's a Republican. They don't agree with me. Call them. Start showing up to town hall meetings. Start calling them. We need to push on these lawmakers because they are the only people that are legally in a position to do anything. So all of us need to get on all of them and make them do their jobs. What is happening isn't okay, and we need to force upon them that they are going to do their jobs.
I would encourage us to look at other countries who have had governments think that they were more important than the people. Specifically, I think France had a really great revolution where they absolutely made every single fucking politician afraid. And if they aren't listening to us, I'm not saying we got to make them fearful, but certainly make them uncomfortable.
Do not turn away from what is happening. It is so atrocious, and it is so important to push back on right now, all day, every day. All of us need to be doing it because it will continue to get worse if we don't continue fighting back right now. I've seen a few people commenting that it's not patriotic to disagree with your government, or it's not patriotic to speak out against them. The most patriotic thing you can do is voice your opinion in a democracy. That's it. It doesn't have to be the popular opinion, but no, it's very patriotic to care about your country and talk about it and talk about human rights and talk about our laws being respected. So don't let anybody tell you that you're not being patriotic by disagreeing
By
with what's
blindly
going
following
on.
someone.
That's why we vote.
No, that's called Christianity, and that's not patriotic. So let's focus inward. Let's do this thing.
So do you have a favorite comment that you want to
Oh,
lambast
yes.
this week? We love to pick a comment from our comment section. We get about 1,000 comments a day on average on the internet.
It's from Ryan Papagiorgio Palmatier. Great name.
Okay.
Great name. This user commented, Canada customs officers have always charged Americans to enter the country. The cost is subject to the customs officer, anywhere from a couple hundred to $5,000. And listen, I went to Canada when I was 18 years old, and I'm not saying that my experience will speak for every single United experience, but being a young woman, we are a demographic that is avidly taken advantage of, and we are avidly being paid. You have to pay for this. You have to do this. Your car needs all these things. No, we didn't. You're talking about a very vulnerable population, and I was let through. They stamped my passport. He said, "Are you old enough to be here?" I said, "Yes, I am." And they said, "Okay, great." There was no payment. There was no payment to come back. You're a liar. This is misinformation.
It's complete nonsense.
Yeah, I don't know what this person's talking about.
And this is a thing we are seeing increasingly on the right, that they are trying to malign our allies. They're trying to malign Europe. They're trying to malign Canada. They're trying to convince Americans like us that our allies are the problem and that they are doing sinister things when it's not true.
Moving on, glad you're actually with us for this because I didn't know that we had what's known as a mystery sample set. Can you tell us a little bit about that before I read this amazing review?
We get, sometimes we'll have like something got printed on the wrong color, like if someone ordered a black shirt, but someone in production accidentally pulled a blue shirt, but there's like nothing wrong with the product. It's still perfectly good. Or someone returned a brand new, unwashed, unworn item. We just have it in stock now. Those things go into mystery bundles. So if you wanted to try out some of our products and can't decide what you want, and you want us to just send you like a little surprise bundle of shirts at a huge discount, because it's like heavily discounted. I think it's like, don't quote me exactly, but I believe it's somewhere around like 3 shirts, so the price of like 1 or 2 shirts. So it's a pretty good discount. But the trade-off is we get to send you like a surprise bundle of stuff that, you know, we have. That's because for the most part we print stuff to order. We have printers here in our building for printing shirts and kitchen towels and but when we have stuff that is more than what we need, we put them in these bundles, and you get surprise shirts, and we get to offload some stuff that we have hanging around the office.
So it's a win-win. You guys get discounted things, and we get things that we no longer need out of here. And Lou Materia, a verified buyer, left a review on her mystery sample set, and they said, I just assume, stellar. bundle. Whenever you see a grab bag type of offering from any store, you probably think you're getting dusty old misprints. Not the case with this perfect mix of shirts. All the ones I received, I would have bought, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Boredwalk. So if you're looking for a way to dive into our company, find some shirts, figure out what you do or don't like, maybe look into the mystery bundles because you can get more bang for your buck. And we're not giving you we're not giving you bad things. We are still giving you quality shirts. And now we're going to move on to my favorite segment, where we ask each other burning questions.
From the venting deck, which restaurant's popularity baffles you the most?
The one that I will go with, because I have a lot of them, but the one that I'm going to go with is Chipotle. What are we doing with Chipotle? If you live somewhere that does not have good Mexican food, fine. California, we have great Mexican food. Why are we going to Chipotle? There's so many other places that you could go. I feel the same way about Taco Bell. Sorry. I've probably been to Taco Bell 4 times in my life, and I was disappointed by it every time.
I am baffled by In-N-Out because every time I see In-N-Out, this is a chain out here, so if you don't live in this part of the country, you may not even know what we're referring to. They're like a burger, fry, fast food, drive-through place.
Yeah.
They're very popular out here. And what blows my mind is every time I pass one, there's like a mile of cars like just wrapped around in line waiting to get In-N-Out. And I'm like, there's no way there's anything so amazing at In-N-Out that you want to wait in like 2 miles of traffic to order a burger and fries.
I know, it's crazy.
From the original deck, what hypocrisy annoys you the most? I would say pro-life people not actually being pro-life. I would not agree with a person who is anti-abortion, because let's call it what it is. It's anti-choice. I don't disagree with that like wholeheartedly. But if you were pro-life and you were anti-abortion and also pro-life in literally every other aspect of your life, you're against the death penalty. You are
you're
supporting
adopting a bunch of kids, maybe.
You're supporting child care for children that do exist. You're pro actually making everybody's life better, like completely. Mm-hmm. Then I would be like, okay, fine. Like, I don't agree, but like, at least you're actually pro-life.
Mine is like when someone comes to you with an energy, like a mean, hostile, and you match it, and suddenly you're in the wrong. You should have known better. Why didn't you treat me with respect? Why didn't you? You're so angry. You started it. I can't stand, especially being like the firstborn daughter. Like, you have to deal with so much emotional runoff from people who make you their scapegoat. And I was never that kid. I could never put up with that. So when I have grown men yelling in my face, yeah, I'm going to get loud, but then I'm in trouble. I should have decked him.
For me, it's people who call themselves Christians. And for the record, like, I'm not a member of any organized religion. I'm not spiritual or religious in any way. But if you're going to affiliate with Christianity and want to be more like Jesus, according to
the
Christian
Bible
storytelling, you would need to behave more the way Jesus is described in the book, which is, you know, kindness and being charitable and having compassion for people and not being hateful and malevolent towards your fellow humans.
Yeah.
And I see it so much with people who claim they're like, I'm a Christian. And
if you look like me and act like me and behave like me.
I mean, now we've seen some of the church leaders talking about how empathy is a sin. That's the opposite of what your religion teaches you.
What? No way.
There's this show that I loved called Afterlife that Ricky Gervais made on Netflix, and he has a scene, and it's a scene that like all of us who aren't religious could relate to. But he has this scene where someone's like, well, if you're not worried about going to hell and you don't believe in God, like, why aren't you out like committing violence and crimes and doing terrible things? And he responds, I'm doing all of the violence and crime that I want to do, which is none. And like the thought that like that's what's keeping you in check, that's what's keeping you from doing terrible things, is fear of hell. That is so scary that that's the only thing that makes you want to behave, that you don't just have like a natural impulse to be decent.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up with Joy. What are you an expert at?
I mean, at this point, probably running a business. I don't know. I know a lot about it.
Copyright
picked
infringement.
it up over the years. Yeah, know a lot about intellectual property law. Know a lot about making content at this point. pretty expert at that. I'm surrounded by experts at it, but that's something I've had to become an expert at as well over time from doing this job. Designing cool things, know a lot about like, the manufacturing process to make things like these decks.
Which you can buy at boredwalk.com.
Which you can buy on our website. But yeah, I would say all the things related to running Boredwalk at this point, I have become an expert on.
It is unfortunate that the authors of these books has become who she is, but I read so much Harry Potter when I was a kid. I was like beyond obsessed with it.
Are you a Slytherin?
Yeah.
Me too.
I read it first 3 probably close to like 50 times each, if not like a lot, like a crazy amount. And
that is a crazy amount. I thought you were going to say like 10. And I was like, that's rational.
I have won Harry Potter trivia competitions. I know a lot about it. I would say that I'm an expert on Harry Potter, the universe.
I'm an expert on pirates. I'm an expert on the golden age of piracy. I don't get me started.
That was not what I was expecting you to say.
What were you expecting me to say?
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but pirates was
really.
Not
I've never
on my
talked
radar.
about this with you before.
No.
Okay, so the golden age of piracy is from 1698 to around 1720, and the only reason pirates died out. Listen to me. Pirate ships were more progressive than the Americas in the 1950s. They would free slaves, and granted, sure, there's like double whammies to that, but they're freeing slave ships, and they're being like, yeah, you guys can get off at the next port, or you can join our crew because we need men. And they gave all of these like quote unquote slaves like piracy capabilities. Now you're sailors, now you're this, and they were a fully independent running society, and they operated out of Nassau. And if it weren't for the British government being so jealous of the fact that they could do this, because then they started hiring pirates. It was pirate on pirate crime, but they were called privateers. So they would literally pay these privateers, and they were like, yeah, get us this information. They essentially like outed themselves, and like they were paid to like take down their own kind. But because then by becoming a privateer, you got paid and you also got pardoned. So you no longer could have been hung for being a pirate. You were pardoned for being a privateer. I'm a Gryffindor, and you guys all know about pirates. So if you wanted to find out some fun new things about your coworkers, partners, parents, siblings, whatever, what have you, go ahead and order your Delve deck today at boredwalk.com. We have 3 different decks. We have Venting, we have Original, and we have Joy. And we always love to end on Joy because the world is miserable. So until then, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love you so much. Okay.